The town of Blackwood had always been quiet, the kind of place where doors were locked before sunset and where the wind carried secrets between the swaying trees. It wasn't a town many people visited, and those who did often didn't stay for long. But on the outskirts, past the rusted railway tracks and a long-abandoned church, there was a house that no one dared approach after dark. It stood at the end of Hollow Lane, a crooked structure with warped wooden beams and windows that seemed to absorb the light instead of reflecting it. The townspeople called it the Hollow House. It had been empty for as long as anyone could remember, but despite its vacancy, those who walked too close swore they could hear faint whispers from within. Emily Carter had never believed in ghost stories. A freelance journalist, she thrived on debunking urban legends and myths. So when she heard about the Hollow House, she saw an opportunity, a story that could elevate her blog from obscure to viral. She packed her camera, flashlight, and a recorder and set out for Blackwood. The journey was uneventful, but the moment she crossed into the town's border, something shifted. The air became heavier, dense with an unshakable stillness. Even the birds in the trees seemed to hold their breath. The townspeople eyed her with a mixture of curiosity and warning when she asked for directions. "You're not thinking of staying there, are you?" an old woman asked, her wrinkled hands clutching a wooden rosary. "It's just a house," Emily replied with a smirk. "Nothing I haven't handled before." The woman shook her head, muttering a prayer under her breath. "If you hear the whispers, don't answer." Emily laughed it off and drove to the house as the sun dipped below the horizon. The trees loomed taller, their gnarled branches stretching like skeletal fingers. The house, bathed in twilight, was even more imposing up close. She felt a strange pull toward it, an almost magnetic force urging her inside. She pushed open the door, and it groaned as if protesting. Inside, dust blanketed every surface, and the air smelled of mold and something else, something faintly metallic. Her flashlight flickered as she stepped further in. The whispers began almost immediately. At first, they were barely discernible, like the wind rustling through leaves. But as she ascended the staircase, they grew clearer, murmurs threading through the silence. She turned on her recorder and whispered into it. Possible residual audio. Investigating further. The hallway upstairs was lined with doors. Some were ajar, revealing glimpses of empty rooms. But one door at the far end was shut tight. The whispers seemed to be coming from behind it. Emily reached for the handle and hesitated. Her pulse quickened. She turned the knob slowly. The door swung open to reveal a room frozen in time. A child's bedroom, untouched for decades. Toys lay scattered across the floor, their colors long faded. A rocking chair creaked in the corner, though there was no breeze to move it. And on the bed sat a porcelain doll, its glassy eyes fixed on Emily. The whispers crescendoed, overlapping, frantic. Leave, leave, leave. Her breath hitched. The air was thick, oppressive. She lifted her camera, but as she snapped a photo, the flash revealed something behind her reflection In the mirror, a figure, pale, with hollow eyes and a mouth stretched too wide, as if screaming in silence. It stood just behind her, its fingers nearly touching her shoulder. Emily spun around, but the room was empty. Heart pounding, she backed away, but the door slammed shut on its own. The whispers became a deafening chorus, an urgent plea, an order. Then, in the silence between the murmurs, a single voice rose above the rest. "Don't turn around." Emily's blood turned to ice. Every instinct screamed for her to run, but her body refused to move. She felt breath on her neck, cold, wet. A hand brushed her shoulder, and she bolted. She fought the door, twisting the knob desperately until it gave way. She stumbled down the stairs, crashing into furniture, bruising her arms and knees. The whispers followed her, weaving through the walls, the floor, the very air. She reached her car, fumbling with her keys, her pulse a frantic drum in her ears. The moment she crossed the threshold of property, the whispers ceased. The house stood in its eerie silence, as if nothing had happened. Emily didn't stop driving until she was miles away. She tried to convince herself it had been a trick of the mind, the product of exhaustion and overactive imagination. But when she played back the recording later that night, her heart stopped. There were the whispers, clear and undeniable, and beneath them, a single voice, distorted and otherworldly, whispering a slow, deliberate hiss. "We see you." The recording cut out. The next morning, Emily deleted the footage, trashed her notes, and never spoke of the Hollow House again. But she would never forget the warning. Some whispers should never be heard.